got more exciting stuff to share with you guys today. First of all, we're going to look at our new animal plastics rack that we got in. This is for colubrids and small lizards. So let's take a look at some of the animals we currently are housing in this rack. We have a king snake here that's actually hiding right there. It's a shame. Great start to this video. Keep with it, guys. I assure you things will get better. Here we go. So here's one of our Californian king snakes. Let's see if I can focus in on his little face here. Alright, so you guys can see the bins are pretty small, but again, this is mostly for baby colubrids. We also have the bins that are double the size, which we will either use for holdbacks or some larger species as well. I'll show you guys the 50-50 king snake. Right there at the back. Cool little rack we have here. Makes cleaning a lot easier than those 6-inch delis. Guys were pushing the water bowls over all the time, and then I would have to get in there, replace the water, pop the lid off, and when you're dealing with like 30 animals, it's a huge pain in the ass. A rack like this makes things a lot easier, and I'm actually going to show you guys. Here's another king snake. I'm actually going to show you guys how we have them set up. So for our North American colubrids, which is the bulk of this rack, we have aspen. I find aspen is the best when you're keeping a species that does not need a lot of humidity, such as these North American colubrids, king snakes and corn snakes. The reason being is because we don't need to spray these guys down ever. Just the fact that they're in a rack like this, there's enough humidity in the bins for them to shed properly. They don't need that much humidity. Whereas some other species of boas and pythons, aspen's really not the best for them, just because it molds over very quick if you're doing any spraying whatsoever to up the humidity in the cage. So we got these little delis here, which would be something that you would use to put sauce or ketchup in when you go to a restaurant. And Joseph actually cut PVC tubing, or PVC pipe I should say, to size, so that they can't knock these water bowls over, because as I stated previously, when we just had them sitting up like this, they would knock them over all the time. And again, aspen molds over very easy, so if they were knocking these water bowls over, I was having to replace almost all the aspen in the deli. But again, a snake rack just makes things a lot easier. So enough of that, guys. We're gonna actually look at something that's a little bit more interesting than king snakes and corn snakes, at least if you ask me. We were very lucky to produce Rhino Ratsnakes for the first time this year. So this one still hasn't fully shed out. You can see the shed starting to come off right there. And these guys have a little bit of an attitude to them, which is kind of cool. They're extremely small. You can see I have them on wet sphagnum moss right now until their first shed. I might put them on something else, like maybe Eco Earth, something of that nature. And then you can see right here we have this big water bowl. The reason why we have such a big water bowl for them is, other than the fact that these guys, they really love to soak, is that typically when they're babies, you'll have to start them off on fish. So while this water bowl isn't that big, it'll do the job for when we need to put a feeder minnow or feeder guppy in there. So we got our adults when they were just a little bit bigger than this. They were still completely gray, just like these babies, and we're feeding on fish. And once they were of a decent size, maybe I would say a third or a half bigger than these babies right here that I'm going to show you, they started eating frozen pinkies. Basically what we ended up doing is we would take the frozen pinkies and put them in the water bowl and move them around, make it look like they were fish, kind of. So these are really neat looking animals, and it's really cool that we got our babies 3 years ago. And again, we got them I shouldn't say our babies. We got our adults 3 years ago. When they were babies, they were that size. And we grew them up, and they look just absolutely stunning right now. And to actually have produced babies ourselves now is just amazing. And this guy seems to have somehow, some way, emptied out his water bowl. And he is right under here. I believe this is the one that has had its full shed. Come here, you. These guys are like so small. There he is. I won't bother him too much. I'm actually going to show you guys the adults here in a bit, because while these guys are quite nice looking, they get way better than this. So they hatch out gray, and actually I kind of really missed the boat on this, because I did have the opportunity to film these guys as they were coming out of the eggs, which was really cool. But for whatever the reason, I didn't get it done. But when these guys had first come out of the eggs, their appendage on the front of their face, that horn, if you will, was completely folded back onto their head. And I guess it took most of them about 2 or 3 days before the appendage started to fall back forward. And you could see they just look really cool even as babies. This one's not too mean. There were some of them that were like mouth gaping, wanting to bite, but this one doesn't seem to be all that bad. So unfortunately we didn't have a 100% hatch rate with this first Rhino Rat clutch. We had 9 eggs and only 5 hatched, so that kind of sucks. That could have been due to a heat spike. Believe it or not, we actually had a hard time getting the temperatures low enough for these guys to incubate them. So yeah, we had them in an incubator, because obviously this giant ball python incubator would be way too hot for these guys. We kept them in an incubator in one of our rooms, and we just had an insanely warm week that week. So that might be why only about 50% of our babies hatched. It sucks, but we're still really happy with the 5 that we actually did manage to produce this year. You know, this was our first shot at it. We didn't try to pair the rhinos previous to this, because we wanted to make sure both our animals were like in optimal condition. And it's very interesting because our female rhino rat, she looks like she's fatter than ever right now. So that could have been part of it too, though. We may have kept our female a bit too fat. We feed them quite a bit. We feed them probably more than what most people would recommend we feed. So show you guys this one here. Small little gray worms, but they end up turning into something fantastic as they get older. And with any luck, we will have 1 or 2 with us at the CRBE, the Reptile Expo in Toronto. We already have people that have inquired about these guys, so focus in a little bit better. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, that little like appendage there is very squishy. It's not hard at all on the tip of their face. You can see some tail rattling, some tail whipping there. This is the one that has a little bit of attitude. See if I get a mouth gape. No. Really not pleased with me. Alright, so that was the 5th and last one. And now we'll take a look at the adults. So here's the boy. You guys probably, if this is your first time seeing Rhino Ratsnakes, you probably can't even believe that that little gray tiny snake turns into this, you know, vibrant green and turquoise animal. So you could see, I mean, just super interesting scalation on the sides of them. They have those really like interesting looking white tipped scales. And these guys are really cool because they stay pretty small. You know, this male right now, he's in a 18 inch by 18 inch by 18 inch cube. I should have just said an 18 inch cube. But you can see he has his water bowl in the corner there. These guys absolutely love to soak and they love to climb. So you want to kind of almost set them up as you would Amazon tree boas. Now that probably doesn't make a lot of sense to most of you out there, just because it seems that Amazon tree boas have kind of fallen by the wayside, not too popular anymore. But I remember when I got my Amazon trees, people used to always say, when you're trying to come up with perches for Amazon tree boas, get like, you know, either platforms or branches that fork, kind of like this here, you see. It's not your typical branch like the other arboreal snakes, like the green tree and the emerald tree boa, where you just have a horizontal perch. These guys, they like to have multiple different points of their body sitting on different parts of the branches. So this guy basically does this all day. He almost never hides. Actually, the female is the same deal. These guys, they just don't hide, which is really cool about them. And a lot of the Asian rat snakes I found, this is to be the case, because for whatever reason they're just not too afraid. They don't hide too much. They're always out in the open, which is one of the really cool aspects to owning Asian rat snakes. So touch him a little bit. He's a little bit more feisty than the female. The female is very tame. This guy doesn't like being handled too much. So yeah, we do provide a hide, and you could see for him we've used forest floor and eco earth substrate. The female actually has aspen right now, but I'm gonna change that pretty soon, just because same reason that I stated before, aspen molds over very fast. We do like to spray these guys probably 2 to 3 times a week, just to keep the humidity a little bit higher up in these glass terrariums. That's the boy. And we don't have any supplemental heat on these guys either. This is a colubrid room, so the room is heated to about, I would say, between 78 and 82 on really warm days. So they thrive really at this temperature. I mean, you can see our female is an absolute monster. She's kind of fat, actually. She's always like looking to eat something. It's not that she's aggressive, it's just she's very like into eating. She's basically never refused food. The only time she refused food is when she was gravid. And probably a couple, I would say, she probably even ate when she was gravid. It was just really the 3 weeks before she laid that she went off food for a little bit. But she's absolutely stunning. I just want to try to handle her without getting bit. She just really wants to eat right now. You know what? She's actually in this mag natural hide. I didn't see that at first, but she's actually right through the middle. So I don't want to bother her too much, but hopefully you guys could appreciate the beauty of Rhino Ratsnakes. And as I said before, or as I was trying to say before I stopped the clip of the babies, is that we're gonna be in the we're gonna be at the CRBE, the biggest reptile expo in Canada, Toronto, or I shouldn't say Toronto, I guess. I believe it's in Mississauga. Anyways, wherever it is, we're gonna be there September 10th and 11th. Safari Reptiles, come by our booth and see us. We're gonna have 2 tables there, and we're gonna have just a ton of animals. We're gonna have those king snakes, those corn snakes. Of course, we're gonna have our S-load of ball pythons. We're gonna have leopard geckos, chihuahua geckos, gargoyles, and with any luck, if we could get some of those babies feeding, some rhino rat snakes. And please subscribe to the channel. We have more cool stuff coming up. We have the cave-dwelling rat snakes due to hatch any day. Unfortunately, they're probably not going to be anywhere near ready for us to bring to the CRBE. But I'll definitely post a video of those guys once they start hatching. And we currently have another ball python clutch hatching, clutch number 11, where we actually killed the odds. It's not anything that we haven't produced before, but still a really cool clutch. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry if I rambled a little bit. If you guys want to see more Rhino Ratsnakes, let me know in the comment section down below, and maybe I'll even do a care video. I know I gave you guys some quick tidbits and little facts on how we keep them, but I could go into greater detail if need be. Thanks guys, and take care.